Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. I'm not gay, I'm not beta-like. Sometimes I talk in a way that's more soft, but it doesn't sound gay at all. It doesn't sound like a gay guy in the news or something trying to sound, sexy or something like that. So, what happened when I was in Oakland and I tried to talk to several people, right? I, in a kind of broad sense, tried to talk to maybe 8 or 9 people. And in a very direct way, I tried to talk to 2 people, 2 females. The first was like white and Hispanic or something. And she had a very feminist look to her. I think she had a little facial hair or something. Her picture should be on the screen. And it shows you that I'm being fair to everybody, LGBT or otherwise. I just said, hey, right now seems like a good moment to try to talk to somebody. And I took advantage of that moment. And the person just ignored the hell out of me, as I predicted. I mean, all my predictions these days come true because they're not made with visions in terms of, dreams or something like that, but they're made with a vision based on logic. Even through sabotage, I look at the situation, I analyze it, I do the math, and I say, okay, I don't think people are going to respond to me whether they're gang stalkers or not, because they don't have heart like that. And if it's in Santa Cruz, it's a lot because of their culture of rejecting somebody for being a righteous black man and not a crypto Jew or token minority, but a really righteous person. They reject righteousness. If it's Oakland, there's a degree of them being afraid of the streets, right? I'm the toughest guy on the planet, but I don't necessarily look like a mean person. I look very approachable. That's why that one gentleman in Santa Cruz approached me, because I'm very approachable. I'm not a very scary guy. I'm pretty easy to talk to, right? But when you're in Oakland, it's different, because not everyone in Oakland is some kind of an idiot. Some hustlers are more sophisticated and advanced than others. Some people are human traffickers. Some people are in the black mafia. Some people are in street gangs that are more sophisticated than other street gangs. It's quite a mix you get there. And you get people from Richmond and Vallejo and all kinds of stuff too. So the streets, to some degree, even during the daytime, aren't safe. Okay. However, the determinant, I believe, was because I'm targeted, because I'm righteous, because women don't see God in me, because they've been following the churches in the world instead of following God, which requires following God through me. Okay, so they don't have the ability to make those sound judgment calls. The state and the churches and the governing class, they don't want people to think effectively. Even when people take critical thinking classes, they're not designed to really help them think critically, or else they wouldn't follow the crowd and those classes wouldn't be allowed. Pretty straightforward. So the next female was this Jewish female, and she was more attractive than the other one. I mean, she came off as Jewish to me, but she might be some kind of ethnic European. That's a more complicated discussion for another day. I'm not the expert on the difference between a European Jew and a regular European. Okay, quite often they look very similar, even especially after they've edited the pictures of various peoples all over the world. They've edited history a lot more than you think. Even the black and white videos of old have been edited to fit a certain racial narrative, a certain breeding agenda. So she had I was very kind of sad that I didn't capture the look on her face and her face. So she was, she was an older female. She was probably about my age. And she had a face full of guilt. Okay. That really stood out to me. She looked very guilty, and she looked full of regret, right? Gang stalkers oftentimes are full of regret. I got some other pictures I want to show you. I'll throw them in at the end, okay? I'll just put the back part of her on the camera, but you can tell she's dressed with a little bit of style, that she seems like, an interesting person to hang out with, have a cup of coffee, what have you. And me wearing what I usually wear, because the government does things to my clothes and limits what kind of clothes I can wear, and it even affects my socks and my shoes. A story for another day. I have to wash my boxers, for example. I have to wash them 50 times before I wear them the first time. Okay, it's pretty bad. And by the time, and it's a long story why that is. But for whatever reason, I'm wearing the blue hooded sweater. I'm wearing some old faded white Cortez shoes, and some work pants. Okay. Khaki looking, and my outfit doesn't quite match, but it looks similar to a gang member's outfit, and the government did it this way on purpose. A long story why that is. And you might think, hey, don't tell them that, but it's part of the story. It's a very significant part of the story. So as she's walking by. I try to talk to her. Okay, for the first one that, I forgot to say that I asked her, what do you think, or what does moral precision mean to you as she walks by? And then I say, I had to let it go, right? I'm not going to start following her or something like a creep. I had to just let it go, right? And so when this other one, the Jewish lady, walks by, I'm really hoping that she's going to respond, or she's going to look at me. She's going to give me an opportunity to try to talk to her, even though I'm a fairly introverted person. But over the years, and because of the seriousness of the situation, I'm good at kind of saying what I mean. I mean, back in the day, I used to be nervous about even going to the store, especially back when, I used to drink a little bit, smoke a little weed, what have you, and I'd get a little nervous. Right? I'd be buzzing. I'd be like, man, I don't want to go to the store with all these people looking at me, those bright lights, and so on and so forth. But anyway, so she just walks by too, right? No response. Both of them, 0 for 2. And in fact, if you count the people I talked to in a kind of broad sense, it's like 0 for 9. Okay, this one female I was saying something to at the end is one of the last videos in Oakland, if not the last one. I think it was the second to last. She's a shorter black female in high school or something. She looked like she's a lesbian feminist or something, with the hood over her head. And I was telling her, yeah, this area is fumed right now, and so on and so forth. And I'm breaking it down for her pretty well. And she shakes her head and she walks by. I don't think I caught that on camera. So there was groups of people and so on and so forth. But basically, the response I got from people was like they're zombies or something, right? They were in their own zone. They weren't hearing me at all. Okay, they were not hearing me. Oakland did not respond to me, whether I was in East Oakland, whether I was downtown, whether I was in Chinatown, downtown. They were not trying to respond to me. And most of them were gang stalkers, right? They were working for the government. And that's the society we live in. That's the planet we live in. It's a prison planet in that sense. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that. In one of these videos, hopefully I caught it, toward the end, this like fire siren, fire truck siren or some kind of siren went off. And it was the loudest siren I heard in my life. It was super loud, okay? And it messed up my head and my ears. And I felt very much assaulted by the government. First, they made me ripe for that assault with the fumes to make me sensitive to noise, and blow, and they hit me with it right as I'm trying to finish up the video. And that sent me into an angry state, right? And I'm kind of worn out. It's been a long day by that point, and so on and so forth. I'm tired. I've been poisoned and fumed. I'm not exactly feeling like catching a fade with somebody, but I'm irritated nonetheless. So when I go back to downtown Oakland, as I was at or a different part of downtown Oakland, I was at a park, somewhere, maybe by 14th Street or something, a park I hadn't been to before though. And then I go back to like Broadway and 15th or wherever, 20th or wherever I went. Okay, and I'm pissed off, if I remember the series of events correctly. And so I start saying things like, that I'm mad at the streets of Oakland, right? Because they didn't respond and the government had got at me that way. Okay, so a lot of people might say, you're not supposed to say that, First of all, you got to realize that I'm the toughest guy that ever lived in terms of mental toughness. And I brought that up in my video, I think, as well. So I'm not moving the slightest, right? The streets of Oakland were scared of me, not the other way around. Okay, unless they were in a car with a gun or something, they were afraid of me. They're walking down the street, they were afraid of me. I'm the top martial artist. And the things I was saying made it clear that I was the most serious person on those streets. And I went there 2 days in a row. Okay? Secondly, I'm not dumb. I'm not going there to catch a fade the first time I get mad or something. No. For those of you who are new, that means to get in a fight, right, with somebody. That was not why I was there. That was extremely unlikely to happen. Even if I got 10 times as angry, it was not going to happen. I've always had a respectable amount of self-control. Just remarkable how much self-control I have. I mean, I could write the book on discipline and the optimum philosophy to have a superior discipline and self-control, in spite of the gang stalking, in spite of the provocations for years. I mean, people on these streets, right, someone looks at them strange, they flip and they fight with them. That never happened to me. In spite of all the drugging, all the poisoning, all the provocation, all mental health trying to prove a point by saying, hey, this guy's philosophy, leads him to risky behavior, them trying to do all that bitch shit, I still maintained every step of the way. The most they can say is I get angry and raise my voice, and that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything at all. And you all know it very well. People raise their voices at their kids, and they'll be like 5 years old, 2 years old, and they're yelling at them, a loud screechy voice. No one's tripping off that. So it's stupid to say, hey, this guy, he gets angry and he raises his voice. So what? So the fuck what? And that's also how the streets have responded. They were like, why are you making all this noise? No one there the entire time, after like 10, 12 speeches, said, well, why are you making all that noise? Not a single person. And there's like 10 kids walking by, they're dyed hair and they're sagging and all this stuff. Not a single person. One, because they respected me as a great warrior, begrudgingly, unwittingly, and otherwise. Two, because what I said made so much sense. Three, you need to note that they changed the way I sound in the videos. The way I sounded there almost the entire time was perfect. Perfect. I sounded like a very righteous and profoundly deep person making his pitch. Okay, at times when the fumes hit for a while, my voice was a little bit annoying, but most of the time was perfect. Not as perfect as I would sound, perfect in terms of getting the job done perfectly, not as divine as I would naturally sound, mind you. So, for those of you who might say, well, why don't you go to a place where there's more black people? I went there, not a single person. I went there 2 days in a row for hours. Not a single person wanted to spark up a conversation. Not black, not Hispanic, not brown. Not Hispanic, not black, not Jewish. That's what I meant to say. And I've seen a lot of Jews there. And they weren't like, this guy's being anti-Semitic. Not a single one of them was looking at me like, why are you saying that? They knew that it was fair to say what I was saying. They were not scared in the slicing. That female I tried to talk to, she was walking slowly by me. I forgot to bring that up. She walked very slowly by me. And I think that she was a gang stalker and they wanted to impress upon me that some of them feel bad and things like this, right? But they did not see me as anti-Semitic. Some of them probably were pro-Israeli and they did not want me to say that I'm the top martial artist in Christ. Some people are bothered by that. But I'm right. Number one, regardless of what the law says, I'm right. Number two, I have that freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and the court system has still not ruled that I don't. And if they did, I wouldn't stop. Why should I? Without moral law, what is a nation? And if they reject even the secular constitutional law, what would then be left of America? And this is something that I came across again and again. They suppress my videos. I was telling people on my channel, not a single subscriber came from all those interactions, which overkills that they have no logical reason to keep me from doing martial arts, to fume me and poison me. They have no logical reason to want to keep people from hearing me out. You have to understand this. Listen very carefully. I go over the different types of groups of people all the time, and there's a lot of subgroups, right? There's manga, there's K-pop that I don't bring up enough, right? There's a lot of different genres of rock. Look at all the genres of rock. There's lots of them. And rock-like music. There's punk rock, and there's Marilyn Manson, the freak music, and there's goth, and there's heavy metal, and there's soft rock, and there's Christian rock, and so on and so forth. Death metal, and so on and so forth. There's different genres of hip-hop and rap, really. Different flavors, different messages, different styles. There's classical music in their crowds, right? Genre has the word gene in it. So when you look at these people, right? Say some cowboys found their way there. It's pretty unlikely in Oakland, but they're somewhere somehow, right? They find their way there, right? These different groups of people are not going to respond to me because they're social norm fanatics. They've been bred for hundreds, in some cases thousands of years, to be concrete jungle-based social norm fanatics. Even hippies are concrete jungle social norm fanatics. I knew that those females weren't going to respond to me because even though I'm dressed in a way that was pretty plain, right? Even though it wasn't entirely matching, it was a little bit kind of but there's a lot of people out there dressing in ways that were very on purpose. Sneakers and a dress and so on and so forth. So I was probably the most normally dressed person when you consider everything at the same time. So here I am, the essence of normal. Right? Moral. More and moral. More what? More good. More normal. Moral is more normal than whatever you think of as normal when you're not thinking of moral as normal. And they did not want to respond to the most righteous person that ever lived. I've been talking about females' judgment for years and years now, and not just a few days before that Oakland trip or some, maybe a week or two, tops. Maybe it was just a week. I brought up a video about females' judgment. In fact, that video that I made where I tried to talk to these females, I forgot about that. If I'm not mistaken, I was talking about romantic injustice and naming a bunch of points and quoting scripture. Psalm 45, Proverbs 11, 12, what have you. Okay? So that's also ironic as hell. I'm talking about how they should be submitting to me, right? And instead of them doing what is right and doing the most moral person to ever live, justice, you know, when Socrates says the pursuit of virtue is greater than the pursuit of wealth, all these people in the Greek societies ought to be very ashamed of themselves for coming together to suppress me, when Socrates is the most famous Greek of all. Basically. You know, so the pursuit of virtue is greater than the pursuit of wealth. All these people in Greek societies who are suppressing free speech, taking part in cancel culture. Okay, what does Socrates said, right? He said a life without questioning things, a life without contemplation, a life where you're not free to kind of examine, a life without self-examination, examination in general is not worth living. And as the story goes, he allowed them to execute him instead of walking away a free man. But here they are persecuting me. The church, knowing damn well you should not persecute Christians, they're complicit in persecuting me. The state talking about the freedoms of America and spreading their freedoms around the world, and they're persecuting me. Unbelievable, right? Black people in Oakland, right, with all the pictures and all the paintings, and they're helping the government run a psyop on me. Now some of you might be like, well, duh, this is the time we live in. There's no excuse for it whatsoever. And I pointed out in those streets of Oakland, I said, my father is like the true king of the Ebos, but I'm the true king of the Ebos. I'm the king of kings, the king of all kings. But they're following the king of the Jews and the whites and the LGBT community, those racial supremacists. And I'm not a racial supremacist. I pointed that out several times in those streets. I said I'm a moral supremacist, not a racial supremacist. All those racial supremacists following the white man and persecuting the essence of what it means according to their scale to be black. King, heart, hut, essence, center, temple, core, Kuro, Obi, black belt. And again, I'm not a racial supremacist. It's a very sad day. If only black people wanted to obey God through me, that'd be very sad, very pitiful, very racist. So as we look at this thing, what do we see? We see, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so on so many levels, on so many things. I told you my card tactic wouldn't work because people are social norm fanatics. I told you they wouldn't compensate me because the state is too evil for that. And I called it like in 2021. After years of saying it, I made an official video where I wrote it down, put it on my door or the wall by my door, one of the two. It's there right now. 2021. Now 24, about to be 25. It's December 2024. I told you that not a single attractive female would submit. I made 3 predictions on that prediction on that yellow notepad piece of paper, a piece of notepad, right? And I said that not a single attractive female would submit to me. They still haven't. Not a girlfriend, nothing. I said that the card tactic would not work. Handing out cards all over the place. Campbell, Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Jose. San Jose is a big city. It's the most populated city in Northern California. In all of Northern California. Nobody rallied to me. The card tactic didn't work. I said they would not compensate me. Back in 21, it's 24 now. It's going to be 25 soon. They didn't compensate me. I predicted 3 things that I could not have known for sure were going to come to pass. In fact, I think a lot of people would have bet that at least one female would submit to me as a girlfriend. I bet a lot of people would have bet on that. I said, no, I know women better than you do. I know women better than they do. A lot of women would have bet on that. I know women better than women do. Or what's left of the word woman? One can make a strong argument it's just my mother. And that's a very, very sad and heartbreaking thing. So you need to respect. The problem is that, I'll end by saying this. The problem isn't that I don't respect women. I have nothing but respect for what a real woman is. A real man and a real woman. A real man respects a real woman. The problem is that the females who call themselves women don't respect women enough to be a woman and honor God and obey God through me. Thank you.